Jessica Valenti has a book called He's a Stud, She's a Slut, and 49 Other Double Standards Every Woman Should Know. And she has 50 in here, and I'm going to read some of them because they seem obvious, but we sort of take it for granted. We accept a lot of double standards without thinking, okay? Here's something to think about. He's tough, she's a tomboy. I was a tomboy, no doubt about it. In elementary school, I played sports and ran around the playground with the boys, shunning my female peers, who at the time seemed more concerned with Lee press-on nails than with anything else. In junior high, I wore baggy men's jeans and shirts. So sue me, was fashionable then. It wasn't until high school that I started dressing feminine or hanging out with the other girls. Lucky for me, no one ever mocked me for being a tomboy. I was mocked for entirely different reasons, but that's a story for another day. The little boys in my class, however, who dared to like these conversations about Lee press-on nails or who shied away from sports, they had problems. They were called fags, pussies, and sissies. They were called girls. You see, it was understandable for me to want to be a tomboy and do boy things, because men are better, after all. But for a guy to want to be feminine, unthinkable. Now, while this double standard affects men negatively, it's mired in misogyny. The idea, of course, is that there's nothing worse than being a girl. Think about it. Girls can wear pants, boys can't wear skirts. Girls can play with trucks, but the minute I caught one of my little boy cousins playing with a doll, he threw it across the room with a look of shame on his face. It's demeaning to be female. Boys learn that from an early age. Stephen Ducat, who wrote The Wimp Factor, says that femophobia, fear of being feminine, affects men's identity acutely from the time they're children. Ducat writes that anxious masculinity makes men so concerned with appearing manly or unwomanlike they do just about anything to seem masculine, which is basically anything that isn't feminine. In fact, society is so unabashed in its hatred of all things feminine, one of the easiest ways to punish men is simply to feminize them. A South Carolina prison has taken to punishing sexually active prisoners by dressing them in pink jumpsuits. Arizona prison makes its inmates wear pink underwear all the time. Thai police officers who step out of line, they're forced to wear pink Hello Kitty armbands. Guy friends have even told me of hazing rituals, whether for frats or sports teams, where young men are put in dresses in a way to demean them. My personal favorite? An Australian joke website, because being womanlike is just hilarious, called Man Cans, which features men who act girly, like by crying at a movie, suddenly growing breasts as punishment. Can't get much clearer than that. But the consequences of being a girl go way past man boobs and pink underwear. People are actually killed for transgressing gender norms. You need look no further than the violence committed against transgender people every day. And though society looks down on both men and women who identify outside of their assigned gender, there's a special disdain reserved for men who are feminine. Trans women, folks who are born male but identify as women, are mocked in the media. Julia Serrano, kick-ass author of Whipping Girl, a transsexual woman on sexism and the scapegoating of femininity, says that sexism not only targets women for being women, but targets people because of their femininity. She says, the idea that masculinity is strong, tough, and natural, while femininity is weak, vulnerable, and artificial, continues to proliferate, even among people who believe that women and men are equals. People who are feminine, whether they be female, male, and or transgender, are almost universally demeaned with respect to their masculine counterparts. The scapegoating of those who express femininity can be seen not only in the male-centered mainstream, also in the queer community, where effeminate gay men have been accused of holding back the gay rights movement, and where femdykes have been accused of being the Uncle Toms of the lesbian movement. So it's not just the usual suspects on this one. It seems that we've all bought into hating all things femme. So, what to do? When you're talking about battling straight-up unadulterated misogyny, there's just no easy answer. I mean, how do you stop something that's been generations in the making? I think we have to start with valuing femininity and, by proxy, women. We may not be able to change the world, but we can change our own worlds. Call people out on using words like sissy and pussy. Throw a fit when someone utters the dreaded words, don't be, cry like a girl. My very feminist dad had his own gaffe. Whenever I did something girly, like be afraid of a spider or something, he would say, don't be a Mary. Not no more, folks. We have to start with our own lives and the people in them before we can take on the world. And despite my tomboyish tendencies, which will probably never leave me entirely, I know that it's not being boy-like that makes people valuable. It's being yourself, whether that means baseball or manicures for boys or girls.